The developer of the I Am Jesus Christ video game is a Christian, some opportunities for Christian geek writers, and the latest news on releases from the world of Christian geek fiction publishing. All that and more coming up. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, here with your Christian Geek Radar, covering the months of, December 2019 and January 2020. First up, you might remember that I posted a video reacting to the I Am Jesus Christ video game, which the trailer went up for that in, I believe it was early December, and turned a lot of heads among both Christians and non-Christians. Since then, we've gained a little bit more information about what this thing is and really the developer and the intent behind the project. First, I want to give a brief shout out to thereformedgamers.com, who got in touch with the developer and were able to get answers to a few of their questions. But the article that really stands out to me that gives us insight is from GameInformer.com, who wrote the article Answering 6 Big Questions About I Am Jesus Christ. That was written by Ben Reeves, again published at GameInformer.com. And I'll just share with you the question and the answer for the very first topic that they brought up. First, I'm sure, Reeves writes, people are curious, so do you consider yourself a Christian? How important is the story of Christ in your life? They answered, yes, I am a Christian. As regarding the story of Christ, I was very amazed by him during my reading of the Bible. And what you'll notice, I think, with both the Game Informer article and the Reformed Gamers article is the responses, which are all in text, these were all conducted via text mediums, involve kind of some broken English, which I think confirms what many of us suspected, that the developer is not a native English speaker, and so that may account for what seems to be some strangeness in how the game was presented in text format on Steam, the description for the game and what the gameplay involves and stuff. And so I think we can all safely take that into consideration now. I won't go through the answers for all of the Game Informer article's questions, but I do want to run by the questions just to pique your interest, whet your appetite a little bit. I think this article is well worth reading. The next question is, what has been your experience working in the industry so far? What exactly is that idea, meaning kind of the idea of the game? Is this satire, or do you have a message you hope to communicate? Can you describe the gameplay a bit? What will players be doing as Christ? Why do you think there aren't more games based on the Bible? And finally, what do you think of people's reaction to the game so far? Have you seen any particularly strong reactions that have surprised you? So you can find that article just by doing a Google search using the search term Game Informer I Am Jesus Christ, and that ought to lead you pretty easily to that article. Definitely worth checking out if you're curious about that game. Now, for some opportunities for Christian geek writers. First up, BeneathTheTangles.com is a website that covers anime and manga from a Christian perspective. I've recently tweeted out a few times that they are looking for a webmaster and news editor. They say, at Beneath the Tangles, we're always looking to expand our team of volunteers to develop better and more wide-ranging coverage of anime, manga, light novels, and other related otaku goodness. Right now, we're in particular need of 2 positions, and they list webmaster and news editor with good descriptions for each of them as far as what those roles involve, what they're looking for there. So that would be one way to kind of expand your writing resume if that interests you. Another opportunity would be over at geeksundergrace.com, who recently tweeted out, are you a Christian? Are you a geek? Are you looking for a volunteering opportunity that melds your writing skills, the Bible, Batman, and everything in between, as well as gives you wide readership? Look no further than Geeks Under Grace, geeksundergrace.com. If you have a passion for spreading the gospel, aiming for a high score, reaching a power level of over 9,000, or binge-watching an entire season of a show in less than a day, we want you to become a part of our family. And specifically, they note, we are currently looking for volunteer writers for our books/comics and anime departments. So another opportunity there to build your writing resume at geeksundergrace.com. Finally, of interest to Christian geek writers is the Realm Makers Writing Conference. They describe it as the premier event of the year for Christian authors who write in the genres of fantasy, science fiction, and all their related subgenres. Find your publisher, find your agent, find your tribe at Realm Makers. This is an event that goes on annually. It's been going on for a number of years now. I'm not sure how many, but if you are interested in being a part of that scene and pursuing doing publication, whether that's self-publication and just doing the best job you can of getting your work out there, or if you're seeking to be involved with a publisher, this would be an opportunity you'd really want to consider. The Writers Conference, the Realm Makers Writers Conference, is in Atlantic City, New Jersey this year, and is going to be held from July 16th through 18th, 2020, and registration is open now over at realmmakers.net, realmmakers.net. Christian comic book, and well, he's kind of prolific in his writing. He's done some National Geographic stuff, but that's J.S. Earls, and he recently tweeted, "What if there were invisible humans living among us, at work, in your car, in your living room? Listen to The Realm Unseen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts." And as I understand it, this is a sort of audio choose-your-own-adventure fiction experience. It's divided up into little chapters, and you kind of have a choice to make at the end of every chapter, which is kind of a couple minutes long, and then that tells you kind of what audio file to listen to next. So anyway, that's The Realm Unseen, which you ought to be able to find at any podcast service that you use. Let's see here. And then there was one book release that I noticed that came out in January from Enclave Publishing. It's called Hidden Current. This is a fantasy genre novel. First in the series, the Dancing Realms series, by Sharon Hink. And the description reads, "The dancers of the Order direct their floating world of Mariel with their movement. But are they steering it toward destruction? Kalara spent her life learning dance patterns and seeking to become the perfect servant to her people. When she discovers the work of the Order is built on lies, she flees with a rough-edged herder, Brantley of Windswell. Pursued by soldiers, her journey through the suffering villages of the Rim leads her to encounter a truth that sends ripples through her world and through her soul. As she seeks clues to her forgotten family, Kalara discovers newfound courage in the face of danger, while her quest awakens a growing but forbidden affection for Brantley. Yet even his support can't fully be trusted, since he'd rather destroy the Order than bring reform. She is a lone woman facing opposition from Rim villages and treachery from the all-powerful Order. Can she restore the dance to its true purpose and bring freedom and hope to her people?" This one has some noteworthy endorsements from other writers in the world of Christian geek fiction, including Tosca Lee and Kathy Tyers, so that may be a blip to put on your radar. Again, it's called Hidden Current, book one of the Dancing Realms series by Sharon Hink. And now for more news from the world of Christian geek fiction publishing, here's Adam David Collings.
Ronnie Kendig has released her first space opera novel, Brand of Light, book one in the Doceran saga. There's a price on her head, and it has everything to do with the brand on her arm. Tertian Space Coalition has blessed every planet in the quadrants with high technology, save one, Docero. But in spite of their tenuous treaty with the ruling clans, TSC has plans for the backward planet, and they're not alone. After a catastrophic explosion, Kursei Dragumi awakes in a derelict shuttle, alone, injured, and ignorant of the forbidden technology that has swept her into a nightmare. The brand she's borne since childhood burns mysteriously, but the pain is nothing to that when she learns her family is dead, and she is accused of their murders. Across the quadrants, Marco Dusan responds to the call of a holy order, not to join them, but to seek a bounty. Gifted, or cursed, with abilities that mark him a Kinigos, a tracker sworn to bring interplanetary fugitives to justice, Marco discovers this particular bounty has nothing to do with justice and everything to do with prophecy. One that involves the hunter as much as the hunted. Stephen Sandy has released Unbound, the Radiance Trilogy, book one. For 1,000 years, the Edenian Empire has stood as a bastion of peace in the world of Luoma, protected by heroes known as the Knights of Radiance. Yet now a forgotten evil stirs in the eastern reaches of the frontier, setting the world ablaze. Unbound, the name given to creatures of legend, monstrosities capable of levelling cities and obliterating entire armies. No one has seen an Unbound for centuries, and few believe that they ever really existed until now. Callum is a young scholar in possession of an ancient journal that may be the Empire's best hope against the Unbound. But a series of troubling choices call his credibility into question. All the while, another sinister force lurks in the shadows, manipulating events to further its own dark ambitions. What was is no more. What remains is unbound. Daniel Gibbs and Gary T. Stevens have released Breach of Peace, Book 1 in the Breach of Faith. Captain James Henry is caught between a rock and a hard place, again. Merchant ships operating in neutral space near the Terran Coalition and the League of Sol are disappearing without a trace. The latest report has something the others didn't: a survivor. When news reaches the planet Lustinia during a cargo offload, Captain Henry and the Shadow Wolf's crew are hired to extract the surviving operative before she's silenced and the information she has is lost. But too many opposing forces are at work within the faction Torn Republic, and they all want a piece of the prize. With directives from multiple government contacts, Captain Henry concedes to protect his ragtag crew. Years ago, he surrendered to dishonor and dismissal from the Coalition forces in order to protect his fellow officers. This time, he knows how to play the game. To save his band of brothers and sisters, Jim must walk the fine line between the operative's survival and the threats against his crew from the League of Sol, before the time to negotiate runs out. Steve Razza has released the first 2 books in his Mercury Hale series, Mercury on Guard and Mercury for Hire. Mercury Hale is not a hero, not in his mind. He's happy spending his late nights slicing his way through monstrous astral fiends, using a weapon imbued with a mysterious power at the behest of the secretive Procyon Foundation. It's a strange way to earn a paycheck, but hey, he's good at it. The problem is, things are getting worse. More attacks, more public exposure, none of which Procyon wants. When he tries to get to the bottom of the mess, Mercury is confronted by a tightly guarded secret about Procyon, its true purpose, and what that means for the fate of the world. Worse, Mercury is not who he thinks he is, and he's not alone. And Hard Moon, Book 1 in the Singularity Crisis by David Hallquist. When Brant Wills comes back to life in the caves of Luna, his problems have just begun. Once a renegade enforcer, now a lone survivor of forbidden research, he holds a secret within his blood with deadly consequences. Pursued by the mysterious singularity, he must fight for survival with only the mutant symbiote in his blood and an AI system on his side. I've just started a podcast called Nerd Heaven. I'll be doing episode by episode reviews and analysis of sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies, with an initial focus on Star Trek Picard.
Thanks, Adam, for catching us up on what we missed in December. Guys, that's just like a taste of all that Adam covered for the month of December. So you can get more from him on his YouTube channel. Adam David Collings is the guy that you're looking for. And then finally, if you'd like, say, weekly updates of this kind of information, there's only so much that I can fit in these pseudo-monthly installments of the Christian Geek Radar, but every week I'm giving even more updates from the wider world of Christian geekery on the Christian Geek Central podcast. You can find that in, I think, pretty much any podcast catcher that you might use. And then finally, if you really want to stay up to date, then you can get connected to our Twitter feed at Christian_Geek. That's where I'm putting out from the Twitterverse all the stuff that I think is really of note in the wider world of Christian geekery. So if you're interested in that, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Christian_Geek. All right, that's all for now. Thanks. Bye-bye.